70% of the Earth's surface is water, and for most of human history, whoever controlled that water controlled everything else. The trade routes, the supply lines, the ability to project force anywhere on Earth within days, the power to strangle an enemy's economy without firing a single shot on land. Naval dominance has decided the fate of empires more consistently and more ruthlessly than any army, any ideology, or any technological advantage in recorded history. Right now, one country controls every ocean on Earth simultaneously, with a margin of superiority so vast that the second and third largest naval powers combined cannot come close to matching it. One country whose navy has essentially functioned as the world's maritime police force for 80 years, guaranteeing the trade routes, protecting the shipping lanes, and making the entire modern global economy possible. That country is the United States, and understanding how a collection of coastal colonies with no meaningful navy became the undisputed ruler of every ocean on Earth is the only way to understand why what is happening right now in 2026 is so dangerous. It did not start with strength, it started with humiliation. When the United States declared independence in 1776, it had no navy worth the name. Britain had the most powerful fleet on Earth. Its ships blockaded American ports, intercepted supply lines, and landed troops wherever the coastline allowed. The Continental Navy, assembled hastily from converted merchant ships, was outgunned and outmaneuvered at virtually every engagement. What saved the American Revolution was not American naval power, it was French naval power. The Battle of the Chesapeake in 1781, in which a French fleet cut off British General Cornwallis from reinforcement and resupply, made the victory at Yorktown possible. The United States won its independence partly because another country controlled the water at the decisive moment. That lesson burned, but it took over a century to act on it. What changed everything was a book. In 1890, American naval officer Alfred Thayer Mahan published The Influence of Sea Power Upon History. His argument was explosive. National greatness required commercial power. Commercial power required overseas trade. Overseas trade required a navy capable of defeating enemy fleets anywhere on Earth and controlling the sea lanes that global commerce depended on. Roosevelt read it obsessively. So did naval strategists across Europe and Japan. It provided the intellectual framework for American naval expansion at precisely the moment when American industrial power had grown large enough to fund it. The Spanish-American War of 1898 was the announcement. In months, American naval forces destroyed the Spanish Pacific Fleet at Manila Bay and the Spanish Atlantic Fleet at Santiago de Cuba, and the world understood, suddenly and clearly, that a new naval power had arrived. But the true transformation came from World War II, and the scale of what happened between 1941 and 1945 is almost impossible to comprehend. American shipyards produced 18 fleet carriers, 9 battleships, 48 cruisers, 349 destroyers, and over 1,000 submarines and smaller vessels. At its peak, American shipyards were launching a new naval vessel every single day. By 1945, the United States Navy was larger than every other navy in the world combined. Not larger than second place, larger than every other navy on Earth combined. When the war ended, the United States made a decision no previous dominant power had ever made. It did not demobilize and go home. It stayed. Forward deployments across the Pacific and Atlantic, permanent bases from Japan to Germany, carrier strike groups capable of reaching any coastline within days, and a declaration, implicit but unmistakable, that the world's oceans were open for trade, governed by rules, and guaranteed by American power. That guarantee is what built the modern world. The global trading system, the system that lifted billions out of poverty and produced the supply chains that every smartphone, every car, and every supermarket shelf depends on, rests on a single assumption: that the sea lanes are safe, that a container ship can travel from Shanghai to Rotterdam without being attacked, that oil tankers can transit critical choke points without being seized. Someone is making that assumption true: the United States Navy. 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carrier strike groups, each carrier displacing 100,000 tons, carrying 80 aircraft, escorted by cruisers, destroyers, and submarines, deployed continuously across every major ocean simultaneously. The annual cost exceeds $200 billion. China currently operates 3 aircraft carriers. The United States operates 11, with more under construction. The margin is structural. the product of 80 years of sustained investment and operational experience that cannot be quickly replicated regardless of how much money a competitor throws at trying. Which is exactly why what is happening right now should alarm everyone paying attention. China has not tried to build a navy that beats America everywhere. It has done something smarter and more dangerous. It has built a navy specifically designed to make the Western Pacific too costly for American carriers to operate in. Anti-ship ballistic missiles capable of striking a moving carrier from over 1,000 kilometers. A submarine fleet expanding at a pace that has genuinely alarmed American naval planners. Hypersonic weapons that existing defense systems struggle to intercept. Beijing's strategy is regional denial. Make one corner of the ocean ungovernable. And that corner contains Taiwan, the South China Sea, and the trade routes that most of the world's electronics depend on. Then there is the Strait of Hormuz, the most dramatic demonstration in recent memory of what happens when the American naval guarantee is challenged by a regional power with nothing to lose. Since February 28, 2026, shipping traffic through the Strait of Hormuz has been largely blocked by Iran, following the United States and Israel launching an air war against Iran. Iranian forces declared the strait closed, threatening and carrying out attacks on ships attempting to transit. Sea mines, merchant vessels boarded, commercial shipping targeted with drones and missiles. Almost no shipping has used the strait, and it remains effectively closed. 20% of the world's daily oil supply shut down. Not by a rival superpower, by a country with no aircraft carriers and no blue water navy. Iran did not need to defeat the United States Navy. It simply needed to make one choke point too dangerous to use. The disruption led to fuel shortages in parts of Asia and rippling effects across the global economy. This is the vulnerability that 11 carrier groups cannot fully solve. The American Navy can destroy any conventional fleet on Earth. It cannot make every mine and every missile launched from a rugged coastline disappear. And in a world where asymmetric naval warfare is becoming cheaper and more accessible, the gap between controlling the oceans and keeping them genuinely open for commerce is wider than the fleet numbers suggest. The oceans are still American. The carrier groups are still deployed. But the system built on 80 years of uncontested naval dominance depended on one belief that is no longer universal. The belief that challenging it was pointless. China no longer believes that. Iran proved in 2026 that a regional power does not need to defeat the American Navy to inflict catastrophic global economic damage. Russia is repositioning in the Arctic, and the United States itself is debating whether maintaining the world's naval guarantee is worth the cost. A debate every challenger is watching with quiet satisfaction. The margin that made American naval dominance feel permanent is narrowing. What happens to the global economy and 80 years of prosperity built on the assumption of safe seas when that margin finally runs out is the question nobody in power is willing to answer honestly. Because the honest answer is uncomfortable. The era of uncontested American ocean control may be ending, and the world it made possible may be ending with it.